So we continue to discuss cricket on the SportsMax Zone. The game's global governing body, the International Cricket Council, is considering applying a two-tier test system, which would take effect from 2027 after the Future Tours program. The system, which was first proposed in 2016, would ensure the big three nations, India, Australia and England, play each other more often. Well, former captain and West Indies legend Sir Clive Lloyd, while speaking with the media earlier on Monday, says he is disturbed by the proposal and calls on the ICC to find a different approach.
With the teams having to tick boxes to get to be a test team, and all of a sudden now you'll have relegation and promotion. You know, I think it will be terrible for all those countries who work so hard to get to test match status, and now they'll be playing among themselves in the lower section. How are they going to make it to the top? And how are they? I think that when you play against better teams, you improve. That's how you know how good you are or how bad you are. So I think that I'm very disturbed about this, and I hope that something that is done, that it must be stopped now.
Now, above all, the 80-year-old Guyanese believes West Indies may be treated unfairly as their history will be ignored for monetary gain.
India's got $1.25 billion. Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, South Africa, they all have more people than we have. But look at the accolades. Look at what we've achieved. We've at one stage for 17 years, nobody had beaten us in one day or test matches. We've won 7 World Cups. We won 29 test matches without losing. We have a great history. And now you're going to tell us because of a monetary, I think it's a monetary situation why we're in this situation. You see, the T20 tournaments have destroyed our cricket, because if you come from our cricketing nation with such a small population, when you're losing all of your players, and you will because they're being offered more money. Right. See, England has got 360 odd cricketers. Australia's got a better system, male and female. Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they are better positioned than we are. But look at our achievements. And when it comes to a situation of holding tournaments, we have 14 islands. We have to we have to fly everywhere. And our cricket is held during a very expensive period for hotels and so on. So we struggle a lot. We need special dispensation. Over the years, and when we were in the ascendancy, we gave money to a lot of people, to a lot of countries. And we are struggling now because things are a little bit more difficult, and we're losing our best players to the T20 franchise cricket, really. And we need to get a better system. How come? Nobody's been able to tell me yet why we are 10 test nations, 3 getting 180 million, and 7 getting 80 million. Nobody's been able to tell us why. Why, when we were in the ascendancy, we didn't get any more money. And we're in the ascendancy for quite a while. I feel that something must be done to help our cricket and the other nations who are just there, that we should all have the same. And if you're in number 1, 2, 3, and 4, you get more money. But we should get the same set of funds per year or however often they do it.
Yeah, so Fazir Mohammed still with us to have his say on this issue. Faz, let me start by asking you your response to Sir Clive's comments just now.
Far be it from me to disagree with such a legend as Sir Clive Lloyd. But I think the first question that needs to be asked is not from the enemies outside there, but the enemy within. Because you referenced 2016 and the time that this idea was first floated, and the nations which supported it, the idea of a two-tier system. And I'm reading from Daniel Brettig's report in the Sydney Morning Herald in Australia this morning. The nations who supported it: Australia, England, South Africa, New Zealand, Pakistan, and West Indies. So I suppose the first question we should be asking is, what is Kishore Shalow's position on this? Are they still in support of a two-tier system that will probably have so much horse trading that they'll make a lot of money, even if it is to the detriment of West Indies as a test match nation? So I understand Clive Lloyd's sense of dismay, but I don't know that he's aware of all the machinations and the games that go on in the background, even for someone of his stature who was a match referee himself, that Cricket West Indies actually supported a two-tier system in 2016. And the only reason it didn't succeed is because the BCCI backed down, because they listened to the likes of Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and Zimbabwe, who were saying, what are you all trying to do? To destroy the smaller nations? And Cricket West Indies were happy to go along.
Yeah, well, one of the things that the average West Indies cricket fan would ask about this system is, why would world cricket, which has such a small, participatory level from the standpoint of nations competing, want to go a route like this when this doesn't exist, does it, Faz, in any other world sport?
Well, remember, we were having this discussion last week about cricket, and I said cricket is rooted in prejudice and discrimination, and the more powerful chewing up the less powerful. And this is a classic case in point, Lance. You have individuals. The sad thing is that India, treated like dogs for 80 years, have said, you know what, we're going to treat everybody like dogs now. And who don't like it, too bad. Do something about it now. The issue is essentially there is not that vision to say what is good for the game of test match cricket. And also, because we could go on at length about that point, the amount of T20 cricket that is crammed into the calendar, you've got a situation where if all of the 12 test playing nations are to be given a fair shake, then it'll be probably 6-7 years before everyone plays everyone in a proper series. And the big three don't want that. They want to play each other every year and a half because of the money, the revenue, the sponsors, the TV rights, everything else. It is sort of like saying, well, the World Cup football finals are so popular. Let's make it every 2 years. As Sepp Blatter famously said, give some of them a chance, they'll make it an annual event. Failing to recognize that the beauty of these contests is not seeing the top teams play the top teams every Monday morning, but it's the gap, the rarity, the Olympic-style gap that leaves you yearning for that showdown, but they're not interested in that. They want the money now.
Yeah, but as you bring football into it, Faz, FIFA is expanding the number of participating countries in the top flight of its competition, while cricket wants to reduce it.
Well, just now it's going to be a case of not having qualified for the World Cup as a story, but did you not qualify for the World Cup when you have 48 teams? And Lance, we live in an era, and I'm not saying that the era when we were younger was perfect, far from it. But we live in an era where it seems that everything is about more and more and more, which means more money, because every nation who's in the finals wants it, television rights, more audience, and so on. But as a sporting spectacle, you've diluted it. And therefore, to have, for me, and you might take offense to this, World Track Championship should not be every 2 years. When they started it in 1983 and then 87 and then 91, I thought they were onto something, and then they went every 2 years. Again, demand and television rights and broadcast rights and money, and now it's every 2 years, and takes away from that sense of anticipation. But again, I mean, I'm a relic of the past, and I'll accept that.
Yeah, Faz, I'm terrified to ask you what you feel about the ultimate track championship, which will happen every year, that the world championship will not be happening, but I really won't. Let me play devil's advocate here, Faz, and I'm not sure if I've ever been very good at it, but I'll try my very best today. The idea of the two-tier system is that, you know, the big three, as you pointed out, instead of playing each other twice every 4 years, they'll get the opportunity to play each other twice every 3 years now. Frequency of it will mean more money to go around, not just for the big three and those in tier one, but for those in the second tier as well. And from my reading, an opportunity for them to utilize a lot of that money for development and so on and so forth. Is there any way that this two-tier system could be a positive?
It could be a positive if the second tier is given as much resources as the first tier. Because, and this is why I agree with Clive Lloyd, because take NFL, for example. Everyone is treated as an equal, whether you've won Super Bowl 10 times or never, or you haven't made the playoffs in 14 years, like the New York Jets. In fact, when you go to the draft, you're at the top of the queue. You get the best of the lot from coming out of the college system, because the idea is to create competition so that every game is a competition. What you have now, and don't be fooled, Ricardo, they'll make up excuses to talk about emphasizing competitiveness at the lower level. Listen to what is being said by everyone advocating it. They want to see the top teams playing the top teams more often. It's sort of like the rich European football clubs who wanted a breakaway thing a couple of years ago and then had to back down in the face of outright protests from their own supporters. So this is essentially what it is. And yes, if there were people of vision involved, it could prove beneficial to the lesser nations of world cricket. But knowing the way they are obviously thinking, and they're already planning this. Jay Shah is going to be chairman of the ICC, Cricket Australia's head and England's head. They're going to meet later this month to no doubt iron out the details. It's sort of like a G7 meeting after you've had a G20. So what are you telling me? The G20 is just a full 13 nations, so you can have your G7 real meeting where you decide what's going on.
Yeah, very much understood, Faz. And of course, I've not seen a response yet from the BCCI, who, as you pointed out, opposed the move in 2016. Do you suspect that 8 years on, there is a greater likelihood that this will happen?
Once India says yes, it's going to happen. And the fact that Jay Shah is now going to be at the helm of the ICC, they're going to do everything possible, including to use all of their economic might to make sure that it happens. But as I say again, gentlemen, to me, the most relevant question, what is the position of Cricket West Indies on this issue? And if they say, well, we have to wait until the next ICC meeting, you know that they are lining up for horse trading with their begging bowl.
Yeah, and Faz, before we wrap this segment, I know, as you just mentioned, details to be ironed out. But what would be the process to get promoted back to tier one? Let's say you're in tier two. How do you assess that they may have a system for a tier two team to get back into tier one?
I have no idea, Lance. And I think, again, this is thought of purely so that the big teams can make money. I was having this discussion with Michael Vaughan in 2017. And I said, well, is there going to be promotion and relegation? Because he was all for it. I said, so what happens if either England or Australia get demoted? Does that mean that there's going to be no Ashes series? He said, no. You must have an Ashes series. So the point I'm trying to get at is that it's all about a myopic perspective. And when it's challenged in the sense of a proper sporting system of promotion and relegation, we don't want that, because cricket is, again, for the privileged having their way.
Yeah, and does Clive Lloyd, as we had heard him say earlier on, Faz, have a point about the contribution that West Indies cricket has given to world cricket? Is that a pertinent point in today's game when the West Indies are sort of wallowing toward the bottom end of the rankings?
It's another point that I am at variance with Sir Clive. I mean, there's no question about it. I was talking to a media colleague today and he was telling me how he met an Australian in Adelaide probably 20 years ago who had clippings of the 60-61 series and wanted to present it to the team, to the players, because he knew his time on this earth would disappear and he wanted someone to have it. People love West Indies because of that great legacy. But let's be honest about it. What did we do in that time other than play cricket all over the world to make money for other nations? Did we stand up for anything? Did we advocate for anything? Did we, when Sri Lanka got their test status in 1982, did West Indies say, let's play you and give you a full series? No. Sri Lanka were 11 years into test cricket before they were given the privilege of playing for the West Indies. And I'm sure many West Indians at that time, players, administrators, and fans would have said, Sri Lanka ain't worth playing the West Indies. So now it's come back to bite us.
All right, Faz, very profound comments there from you as usual. We'll watch this story as it develops because I think it's a more than significant development that we're facing here in international cricket. And as usual, always great to have your thoughts on it, Faz.
Thanks very much, Lance. Take care.
Yeah, and we'll go to break now. Back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.